Welcome to the Northwest Podcast with Tana Sieber. We'll chat about how to navigate building a creative business, the technical side of marketing and photography, and just have fun learning together. Don't forget to share this episode with a friend who can relate so we can build a community of ambitious creatives together. Visit the links listed in the show notes to connect with me, Tanis. I'd love to hear your feedback on this episode and any suggestions you have on future topics. Let's get started. This is episode 4 of the Northwest Podcast, and today I'm going to go over some productivity hacks. And these are taken from a couple of blog posts that I did back when I blogged about marketing. And one of them was written in 2017, and one of them is from 2018. Since then, I've listened to so many podcasts and researched, I guess you could call them productivity lifestyles, because there's experts out there who have written books and have podcasts and teach it and have courses. It is all extremely helpful. Often we think that we don't have enough time or enough energy to do all of the things that we want to do. I'm not going to say that we have the same number of hours in a day as Beyonce, because that's just a silly thing to say. But the fact is that if we apply efficiency and if we apply these productivity methods and if we do hacks like this to save our energy, then we can accomplish more. It is amazing to see, and it's not an overnight thing. So let's get started. The first productivity hack is setting a daily theme. So set one main theme for each day, what you are going to work on. This means that when you plan your day, you are not hopping between tasks, or you're not doing housework and errands, doing personal projects and work projects, or hopping between work projects. You just pick your main topic for that day and you accomplish things within that. So the way this works is we avoid transitioning between topics, between tasks, between projects. Our brains can't actually multitask. We really can only focus on one thing at a time. It takes 15 minutes for our brain to transition between tasks. So if you are bouncing around all these different things that you're expecting of yourself in one day, there's going to be so much transition time in your day, and you will get a lot less accomplished. It might feel more productive because there's more categories or more topics or more projects that you touch, but if you just focused on one topic and committed to that for the full day, you are going to get farther with it. The second productivity hack is to be really specific when you're setting your goals and when you're setting your task list. And this just means if your goal is to design your website, if you set out to design your website in a day, you won't do that. You won't accomplish that. But if you break it down and you set specific goals for that day or for that week, I will create an about page, I will get the copy written, then that's specific and you can accomplish it, call it done, and move on. This also helps by taking the decision making out of the process. So if you were to sit down and open up the back end of your website and look at it, then you have to figure out, what page am I working on, what content am I creating, where am I putting the content. Every little thing you do is a new decision that takes time. But if you just decide ahead of time, I'm going to do this page and get this content done, then when you sit down, you do it, you've reached your goal, call it done. The third productivity hack is to schedule your free time. This may seem counterintuitive, but it's actually helpful, and here's how it works. First of all, you're setting a time to do that thing that you really want to do. It's in your schedule, you know that it's there, you have it to look forward to, and so you can focus on what you need to accomplish. When you spend time doing those things that light you up and bring you joy, that energizes you. It's working by helping you have good focus during your work time, also by energizing you, filling your cup. The other thing to note about scheduling fun things, the importance of not just putting them there and then skipping them, but actually holding yourself accountable. And this helps too in the hard things. If you're learning to hold yourself accountable and keep promises to yourself with these things that you want to be doing, it helps you learn that accountability and that follow through with the hard things as well. So yes, it is important to schedule in your tasks, but equally important is scheduling in the fun things. Number 4. The fourth thing is do not eat the frog. I know you've probably heard the saying to eat the frog, and it's one of those productivity hacks that people talk about, and maybe it works for you, and if it does, good for you. You go get it. It means doing the hardest thing or the least enjoyable thing first. So the first thing in your day is you get up and you immediately eat the frog. You just do that really hard, horrible sounding thing first. This does not work for me. My rule that I use and works really, really well for me is to not eat the frog, to do the easiest, smallest task first. That just means that when you start working for the day, you have your list of tasks that need to be accomplished, your list of projects, and you do that smallest, easiest, simplest, quickest thing first. From there, you take the next thing, the smallest, quickest, easiest thing on your list. And what this does is it gives you momentum. It gives you that movement into the day. Now you've accomplished something, you have that confidence that you can do it. It's not all that bad. And then unfortunately, what happens is I accomplish all of the small things, and then the only thing left on my list is that unpleasant responsibility I have to take care of, and I have nothing to do to procrastinate because I've already done all the things. So at the end of the day, I end up doing that hard, unpleasant project, but I accomplished an incredible amount of things. The fifth thing is to do a bad first draft. And this is something that isn't a habit to me yet, so I'm still working on it, still trying to remind myself to do this, but I have mentioned it to other people and was working with someone helping them get their website created, and they had to create an about page. So I said, just do a bad first draft, just get something there. And that ended up being their about page. They did it. And they realized it wasn't so bad. And it works because now that task isn't so daunting. You know that it's already mostly done. You can just come back to it, polish it up, and send it out. Or you'll come back to it, realize it is good enough, and just hit publish. Alright, the sixth and last thing is to bribe yourself. You may think that this shouldn't work because you are not a child, but let me break it to you, you are a child. I've actually gotten a little bit ridiculous with the rewards one, because what I do at the beginning of the week, I schedule my projects and my tasks that I need to do, and I assign rewards to each of the ones that I know I'm going to struggle to get motivated about. And it could be as simple as an energy drink, and it could be as expensive as a camera bag, because it's something that I need, but it is something that costs money, and I always feel guilty when I buy things for myself. So I assigned it to an accomplishment, and then it was kind of like giving myself permission to get that camera bag, but also motivated me to bust my butt on the thing I needed to accomplish, because that camera bag was on sale until tomorrow. So I had a deadline. Okay, story time. So at the time that I wrote these blog posts, I was doing school photography and taking pictures of students. And my favorite students to work with were the ones who had ADHD. And that was maybe a bit of foreshadowing to later finding out that I have an ADHD brain. At that time, I just found them really interesting and loved to work with them because I felt like I had them figured out. So one of the things that I learned, and this is the lesson I'm passing on to you, is that an ADHD kid can focus so hard for a short amount of time if they know they're getting a reward at the end of that task or at the end of that focus period. I remember specifically one day I was doing grads of this girl. She was so hyper and could not smile or sit still for a picture. And so I said, okay, you are going to make the craziest face and be so goofy while I set up the next shot, and then when my camera's ready, you have to smile. And she did it. She just goofed off, and then when I said, okay, it's time to smile, she focused, she smiled, she held the poses amazing, which is hard for anyone. Then I'd say, okay, now go crazy, do what you want. And then she'd be really goofy again and me telling jokes. During that time when she knew she had to focus, she knew she had to do what she was told, she could do it knowing that as soon as she heard the shutter, she could be goofy again. So even without ADHD or even without being a hyper child, this is still a method that works because we can focus so hard for that short amount of time knowing that at the end there is something pleasant waiting for us. So this is so individual to each person, whatever those rewards are for you or however you structure it, but I do know that it is effective. Alright, let's recap the 6 productivity hacks that we are going to do better this week. 1, to set a daily theme for the type of projects or the type of tasks that we will be doing. 2 is to be really specific with our goals and with our expectations. 3, schedule your fun time and hold yourself accountable to actually going and doing that thing that lights you up. 4, don't eat the frog. Start the day with the easiest and the simplest and the quickest task possible to get momentum. 5, do a really, really bad first draft and then come back to it if you need to. And finally, 6, assign rewards and bribes to those tasks or projects that are harder to get motivated about. That's it for me today. Thank you for listening, and we will revisit productivity hacks again soon.